I've always loved the quiet of the library at night. Most students dreaded the sterile silence, the way the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly and the air vents hummed like a living creature. But I liked it. It felt safe, structured, like the world outside couldn't reach me there. That night, I'd been tucked into a corner of the third floor of my university's library. It was finals week and the building stayed open until midnight. I had my laptop out, books scattered across the desk and headphones dangling from my neck but not playing anything. I preferred to listen to the faint echoes of footsteps, the distant coughs, the squeak of chairs against the tile floors. The sounds reminded me I wasn't alone. Around 10:45 p.m., the intercom crackled. I frowned, lifting my head. Usually the announcements were cheerful reminders about closing times or overdue books, but this one came through low and distorted, like the speaker was underwater. Attention. Attention. Lockdown protocol in effect. This is not a drill. Please remain calm and follow staff instructions. At first I thought it was some kind of test, but the words lockdown protocol didn't sit right with me. I exchanged glances with a girl a few tables over. She gave me a small shrug as if to say, "Weird, huh?" Then the librarians moved fast. One older man near the circulation desk slammed down the blinds over the tall glass windows. Another ushered people away from the stairwells and elevators. The sound of keys jingling filled the air as they locked the main doors. That was when the lights flickered once, then went out. The entire third floor dropped into darkness except for the emergency exit signs glowing faint red. A chorus of whispers broke out. Chairs scraped. A librarian's voice hissed sharply, "Everyone down," away from the windows. Between the stacks quickly, I didn't argue. Neither did anyone else. Something in his tone carried an urgency I'd never heard before. I grabbed my backpack, hugging it to my chest, and crouched low, slipping between rows of shelves filled with towering books. The girl from earlier ducked in beside me. We both knelt in silence, the thick smell of paper and dust swallowing us. For a few moments, all I could hear was breathing. My own heartbeat thumped so loud I thought it might give me away, though I didn't know who or what I was supposed to be hiding from. And then I saw him. At the far end of the aisle, crouched unnaturally low, was another student. At least that's what I thought at first. His hoodie was pulled up, his jeans ripped at the knees. He was sitting completely still, knees hugged to his chest, his head tilted ever so slightly downward. I almost whispered to him, "Hey, scoot over." But something stopped me. He turned his head toward me. There was no face, just smooth, pale skin stretching where his features should have been. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, nothing. I choked back a gasp, my fingernails digging into my backpack straps. The girl beside me whispered, "What?" in confusion following my gaze. But when she looked, he was gone. The end of the aisle was empty. We both sat frozen, our breaths shallow. The darkness pressed in on us. That was when the intercom came back on, louder this time and more distorted. "Do not acknowledge them. Stay quiet. Stay hidden." I felt every hair on my arm stand up. Them, plural. The girl shook her head, whispering, "This is some prank, right?" But her voice was trembling, betraying that she didn't believe her own words. Something moved 2 aisles over, a heavy shuffle like bare feet dragging across tile. Then a whisper, not words, just the sound of air escaping. The librarian's voice hissed again in the dark. "Stay down." I curled tighter into the shelf, pressing my back against the spines of books. Every second stretched impossibly long, filled only with the faint movements of whatever they were. At one point, I swear I saw a pale hand curl around the edge of the shelf across from me. Fingers too long, too thin, knuckles bending the wrong way. The hand lingered, twitching slightly before sliding back into the shadows. The girl clamped her hand over her mouth. I did the same. Minutes passed like hours, then a sound that nearly made me scream. A book falling from somewhere above, crashing onto the floor with a deafening thud. Instantly, something rushed toward the noise. Fast, too fast for human movement. I caught the glimpse of a featureless shape darting between the shelves, its body jerking unnaturally. Limbs moving in ways that made my stomach lurch, and then silence again. The intercom crackled a final time. "Survive until the all clear. Do not leave your hiding spot. Do not trust anyone who looks familiar." My chest felt like it might cave in. I clung to those words, repeating them in my head. Beside me, the girl's phone buzzed faintly. She jumped, fumbling to silence it. But before she could, a shadow fell over us. I looked up. The faceless student was back, only now he was closer. Just 3 feet away, crouched low, his head tilted like a curious animal. His featureless face turned toward the phone's glow. The girl whimpered. I grabbed her wrist and yanked her deeper into the shelves, scrambling low on hands and knees. The sound of shuffling followed, heavy and deliberate. Books toppled behind us, crashing to the ground. We ran through aisle after aisle between rows of towering shelves, our breaths ragged and loud. I didn't know where we were going, only that I had to get away from that faceless thing. When we burst into the stairwell, I slammed the door shut behind us, chest heaving. The emergency light above flickered, bathing everything in sickly red. But the stairwell wasn't empty. 3 more of them stood frozen halfway down the steps. Featureless, motionless, facing us. The girl screamed. I yanked her back into the library, slamming the door shut. My hands shook so violently I could barely hold the handle. We pressed our backs against the door, praying they wouldn't push it open. But they didn't. Instead, faintly from the other side, came a sound I'll never forget. Knocking. In unison. 3 slow, hollow knocks, then silence. The girl's sobs filled the air. I was trembling so hard I could barely keep myself upright. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the intercom clicked on one last time. Lockdown lifted. You may return to your studies. The light snapped back on. The librarians moved calmly through the building, unlocking doors, whispering reassurances. Students crawled out from hiding spots, pale and shaken. No one spoke of what they'd seen. The girl I'd hidden with refused to meet my eyes. She grabbed her bag and bolted out of the library. I stayed behind, trying to convince myself it was a trick of the light, stress, sleep deprivation. But as I gathered my things, I noticed something that froze me in place. One of the books near where we'd hidden had been pulled from the shelf. The cover was blank, just smooth, pale paper, no title, no author. And when I opened it, every page inside was blank too, except the very last one. Scrawled in black ink, shaky and uneven, were 5 words. Do not look for us. I take the subway almost every night. Not because I like it, but because I don't have a choice. I work late shifts at a restaurant downtown, and by the time I clock out, the buses are already done for the night. The subway is the only way home. And honestly, after so many nights of the same routine, I stopped thinking much about it. It was always the same. Swipe my card, push through the turnstiles, wait under the dim buzzing lights of the station until the train screeched in. Most nights the car would be nearly empty, just a couple drunks slouched against the windows, maybe a student with their head buried in a book, and always 1 or 2 tired workers like me staring blankly ahead. That night didn't feel any different at first. It was close to midnight when I got on. The car was half full, just enough people to feel safe but not crowded. I sat near the middle, setting my backpack down by my feet, and leaned my head against the cool window. A few stops passed. People got off, others got on. Routine, predictable, until the train screeched to a halt, not at a station, not anywhere near one, just in the middle of the tunnel. The lights inside flickered once, twice, then dimmed, leaving us in a sickly half-glow. The sound of the engine died, replaced by a silence that felt too heavy. Everyone looked up, shifting uncomfortably. Then the intercom crackled. Attention passengers. Lockdown protocol is now in effect. Please remain seated. Do not attempt to exit the train. The voice was flat, mechanical, almost rehearsed. No explanation, no apology. Just lockdown protocol. I frowned. I'd never heard of such a thing. A couple of passengers exchanged confused looks. One guy in a suit pulled his earbuds out and muttered, "Lockdown, the hell does that mean?" No one answered. For a few minutes, we sat in silence, waiting for some kind of follow-up. The train didn't move. The intercom stayed dead. The lights continued to hum weakly, threatening to go out. Then I heard it, a sound coming from above us. Thud, like something heavy landing on the roof of the car. The man in the suit looked up sharply. A woman clutching a shopping bag shifted closer to the edge of her seat. Everyone else just sat still, eyes darting toward the ceiling. Then, thud, thud, thud. Slow, deliberate footsteps moving across the roof. Each one sent a faint vibration through the car. dust drifting from the corners where the ceiling met the walls. Someone whispered, "What the fuck is that?" But no one answered. I felt my throat go dry. My first thought was that it was a maintenance worker, but who the hell walks on the roof of a moving subway train, especially during a lockdown? The footsteps stopped directly above us. The entire car held its breath. Then came the knock, 3 sharp raps against the glass of one of the windows. We all turned to look. The window nearest the back of the car shuddered slightly, the glass trembling as if something pressed against it from the outside. But when I looked closer, I saw it. A hand, pale, too pale. Fingers too long, pressing flat against the glass. The nails, or claws, scratched faintly, leaving thin trails down the window. The shopping bag woman let out a stifled cry. Someone else whispered, "Jesus Christ." And then, as if to mock us, the hand slid away. The footsteps resumed, moving toward the front of the car. Thud, thud, thud. Everyone was frozen, too afraid to move, too afraid to speak. The intercom crackled again. "Remain calm. Do not look directly at the windows. Help will arrive shortly." That was all. No explanation, no comfort. And of course, the warning came too late. Because one kid, maybe college age, couldn't help himself. He twisted in his seat, craning his neck to peer out the window. He gasped, then screamed. We all turned, but by the time we did, it was already too late. Something yanked him backward. 1 second he was there, eyes wide with terror, hands gripping the seat. The next, he was gone. Pulled through the window, without a sound of breaking glass, without a trace. Just gone. His backpack tumbled to the floor where he'd been sitting. The shopping bag woman screamed outright now. The man in the suit jumped up, banging on the locked doors, shouting for help. The intercom hissed again. "Do not panic. Stay seated." Stay seated? A boy had just vanished into thin air. I wanted to scream too, but my voice caught in my throat. All I could do was sit there, trembling, staring at that damn backpack lying in the aisle. Then, another knock. This time, on the window beside me. I didn't want to look. Every instinct screamed, "Don't look." But my eyes betrayed me, and I saw it. A face, or what should have been a face, pressed against the glass. Pale skin stretched over bone, no nose, no mouth, just empty sockets where eyes should have been. And yet, I felt it staring straight at me. I jerked away, pressing myself against the opposite seat. My breath came fast and shallow. The thing lingered, tilting its head as if curious. Then it slid out of view. The footsteps above started again. Only this time there were more of them. Dozens, heavy, dragging, uneven. Like a crowd walking across the roof, circling, waiting. Someone muttered a prayer. Someone else sobbed quietly. The intercom spoke again, its voice warped, distorted. "Lockdown will end when the train is empty." Empty. My blood ran cold. We weren't waiting for rescue. We were being delivered, one by one. The car jolted suddenly, rocking side to side. Lights flickered violently. The shopping bag woman bolted for the door, slamming her fists against it, screaming. The man in the suit tried prying the emergency release. That was when the windows started to fog. From the outside, handprints appeared in the condensation, hundreds of them, smearing, pressing, clawing. The glass bowed inward as if straining against the weight of countless bodies pressing against it. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think. The intercom gave one final broken message. "Next stop at Terminal 0. The lights went out completely. I don't remember what happened next. When I woke, the train was empty, dead silent. No passengers. No conductor. Just me, sitting alone in a stalled car in the middle of the tunnel. The backpack from the boy who vanished was still lying in the aisle. I picked it up with shaking hands, unzipped it, hoping to find an ID, something to prove this was real. Inside, there was only one item, a folded piece of paper. In smeared ink, 5 words, "Don't take the last ride." I'd been driving all day, 18 hours straight, 2 gas station coffees, and a bag of stale pretzels keeping me alive. My eyes burned from staring at the endless highway, and every time I blinked, it felt like they wanted to stay shut. I knew I had to pull over, or I'd end up wrapped around a tree. That's when I saw the motel. It was one of those roadside places you only stop at when you're desperate. Flickering neon sign. Half the letters burnt out, so it just read, Hot EL. The parking lot was nearly empty except for a pickup truck with one headlight and a beat-up sedan with a cracked windshield. Still, I didn't care. I just needed a bed. Inside, the lobby reeked faintly of bleach, like they'd scrubbed something they didn't want anyone to notice. The guy at the front desk barely looked at me as I checked in. Skinny, pale, dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in weeks. He slid the key across the counter and said in a flat voice, Room 6, basement level. Follow the signs. Basement level. That was odd, but I was too tired to question it. The hallway stretched long and dim, with buzzing fluorescent lights that flickered just a little too often. The carpet squished under my boots, damp in patches like it had soaked up years of spilled drinks or worse. My room was at the very end. When I opened the door, the stench hit me first. Not sewage, not mold, but something sweet, almost metallic, like rotting fruit mixed with blood. I told myself I was imagining it. That fatigue was making me paranoid. The room itself was plain. One bed, one dresser, a bathroom with a cracked mirror. The sheets looked clean, though I wasn't about to inspect too closely. I threw my bag on the floor, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed onto the mattress, fully clothed. I don't know how long I was asleep before the alarm went off. A deafening siren blared through the building, making the walls vibrate. I shot up in bed, disoriented, heart pounding. Then a voice came over the intercom. Attention guests. Lockdown in effect. All guests report to the basement immediately. This is not a drill, I froze. Basement? Wasn't I already in the basement? The hallway outside was alive with movement. Doors slamming open, footsteps pounding, people shouting in confusion. I stepped out, joining the flow of guests hurrying toward a door at the far end I hadn't noticed before. An unmarked steel door with a glowing green exit sign above it. The desk clerk was there, ushering everyone inside. His face was blank, expressionless, like he'd done this 1,000 times before. Move quickly. Don't fall behind, he said. I wanted to ask what was happening, but his eyes stopped me cold. They were bloodshot, unblinking, like he wasn't really seeing me. We filed through the steel door into a stairwell that led further down. The air grew colder, heavier. My skin prickled as if we'd crossed some invisible boundary. At the bottom, another hallway stretched out, longer than seemed possible. The walls were concrete, damp with moisture, pipes running overhead. Dim lights flickered every few yards, leaving most of it in shadow. The group moved in silence now. The only sounds are footsteps echoing and the hum of the lights. I tried to keep track of how far we were walking, but after a while it felt endless. The hallway just kept going. That's when I noticed something strange. The people who'd been behind me weren't there anymore. I glanced over my shoulder. Empty. No footsteps, no voices, just the flickering hallway stretching back into darkness. I stumbled forward, catching up to the others. But when I counted, the number was smaller, half smaller. No one said a word about it. We kept walking. The air grew heavier, thicker. It felt like breathing underwater. My chest ached, my vision swam. Somewhere in the distance, I thought I heard whispers, faint slithering words I couldn't quite make out. Then ahead of us, the hallway split into two. The desk clerk stood at the fork, pointing silently to the left. Most of the group obeyed, shuffling into the shadows. But a man beside me hesitated. He frowned, muttering, "No, this doesn't make sense. I'm going back." Before anyone could stop him, he turned and ran the way we'd come. We all watched as he disappeared into the flickering dark. A moment later, we heard his scream. It didn't stop. It just kept going, echoing down the hall higher and higher until it didn't sound human anymore. Then silence. No one tried to turn back after that. We followed the left passage. The walls here were different. The concrete gave way to rough stone, damp and cold. The air smelled worse, that same sweet metallic stench from my room, stronger now. My stomach churned with every breath. That's when the lights failed. Not all at once, one by one. Buzz, flicker, out. Each bulb going dark behind us, swallowed by shadow like something was chasing the darkness forward. We ran. The hallway seemed endless, no matter how far we went. I could hear people sobbing, gasping for air. Someone fell behind, their cries cut short in an instant. The clerk's voice rose above the chaos, calm and flat. "Keep moving. You're almost there." Almost where? Finally, we burst into a wide chamber. The ceiling arched high above, shrouded in black. The walls dripped with moisture. In the center was a pit, circular, yawning, bottomless. The stench pouring out of it made me gag. The clerk stood at the edge, motioning for us to gather. His voice carried easily in the damp air. "This is where you wait. Do not approach the pit. Do not look inside. Help will arrive shortly." He turned and walked into the shadows, vanishing without a sound. We stood there, a small huddle of terrified strangers, staring at the pit we weren't supposed to look at. No one spoke. No one dared move. But the longer I stood there, the stronger the pull became. Like gravity. Like the pit wanted me. I don't know who broke first, but someone stepped forward. They shuffled slowly to the edge, leaned over, and were gone. No scream. No sound, just gone. Another followed. Then another. One by one, they drifted to the pit like sleepwalkers and vanished into the dark. Until it was just me. My legs trembled. My head spun. I could hear the whispers again, louder now, curling around me, beckoning. I don't remember walking to the edge, but I remember what I saw. Not darkness. Not emptiness. Faces. Dozens. Hundreds of pale faces pressed against the walls of the pit, mouths open in silent screams, eyes rolling in agony. Some of them I recognized, the boy who'd vanished on the subway, the man who'd run back into the hallway, the woman with the shopping bag, all trapped. All watching me, I staggered back, my mind fracturing. My vision went white. When I woke, I was lying in my motel bed. The sheets were damp with sweat. The alarm clock blinked 6 a.m. as if nothing had happened. But the smell lingered. That same sweet metallic stench, faint but unmistakable. I rushed out past the empty lobby, past the flickering sign. I didn't stop driving until I was 3 towns away. I told myself it was a nightmare. A hallucination brought on by exhaustion, until I checked my bag. At the very bottom was a folded piece of paper I'd never seen before. In smeared black ink, the words, "You should have jumped,"